That's why you have to try. Because when you try, you get lessons that you can't learn through imagination. There are certain things you can imagine, but you can't imagine the result of that. That's the hard part. You can imagine what it's like to go do something, but you can't imagine the feelings after you do it until you do it. Not accurately, not completely accurately.
If the goal is to learn, you're gonna stay consistent. Follow your curiosity. Learn. Grow. If the goal is to grow, you'll keep doing it. If the goal is to get a specific outcome, you're in trouble when you don't get it.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1655, the 4 relationship killers and what to do about them. Today, for episode number 1656, it is Freestyle Friday. Happy Friday if you are listening to this on the day, but it's Friday in Next Level land because that's when Alan and I are recording this. And this is what I was thinking of, Alan. I was thinking of this today.
Tell me, Kevin.
I'm going to tell you, Alan. I will tell you. What's your middle name? Alan Higgins, right?
Correct.
I see. I know things. What's my middle name?
Higgins. Hold on. Edward.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Strong word.
My man, Kevin Edward.
Kevin Eddie.
Palmieri.
Kevin Eddie, as my
What
mom.
do people usually say? Palmieri?
It depends. Yesterday it was Kelvin. I got Kelvin again. It was Kelvin
Nice.
Palmieri yesterday on a podcast. If I ever was to have a child, I suppose I would have to name them that because, maybe they'd mess up and call him Kevin. Who knows? I was talking to somebody recently, and I said, it's really hard to account for experience. I told them, I said, we had a lot of success with podcast coaching, and that was super weird. It was weird to have like a department that grew a lot. And I said, I just went through a phase where we had a lot of clients that put their podcast on pause or stopped completely or went in a different direction. And I said, it's weird because I've never experienced that before. I never experienced the high. And then once I experienced the high, I was like, oh, that's what that's like. Interesting. Then experienced continued high, and it was like, oh, that's awesome, cool. And then we had what is normal in business. Some people decided to do other things. Some people just said, I need to pause it for right now. I'm going to go in a different direction, whatever. And that was the first time I'd ever felt that. It's really hard to explain something that you've experienced to someone who has never experienced it before. And that's why it's so important to try new things or try things for a long enough period of time, because it's almost like level 1 is, I'm excited about this thing and I'm going to start this thing and I'm going to see what happens. Level 2 is you start putting time, energy, effort, and focus into it. Level 3 is maybe you get frustrated and nothing happens, but eventually you get results. And then that process starts again for the next level of those results. So if we're talking about exercise, I'm exercising different than I ever have in my life, and it feels completely different, but it makes me think, did I ever really know what I was doing to the level I know what I'm doing today? And the answer is no, because I didn't have the level of experience I have today.
And imagine if you did.
Imagine if I did. Now,
there's the conundrum.
Well, you can learn insights and wisdom from external sources, but insights and wisdom don't really, I won't say they don't matter. They don't matter as much until you experience them.
Yeah, they don't fully ingrain or land until you experience them.
Yeah, somebody can tell you exactly what to do. You cannot learn how to swim from a YouTube video.
What percentage of coaching do you think is accountability versus knowledge?
It depends on the goal. I would say it depends. It depends on the goal, and it depends on the person. Some people just want accountability to keep going. Other people, I think, really want strategy and wisdom and experience. The clients, we did an episode recently on Emily. Emily messaged me and sent me a 3-minute audio asking me a bunch of questions today. She wants wisdom, and she wants wisdom. She doesn't need accountability. She wants wisdom. She wants lessons. She wants coaching. But other people, it's more, I just want to check in, make sure I'm not going off in any bad directions, and knowing that you're watching what I do helps. So I think it depends.
I used to say this. Anyone can get you to exercise. No. Anyone can teach you that exercise is important. Very few people can get you to do it.
That's fair.
And so I just wanted to jump in there with that, because a lot of the reason to coach or to have a community of people or to do group coaching or whatever it is just the accountability piece. A large part of it is. It's if you're socially motivated, most people are socially motivated. That's why when they're on sports teams, they tend to flourish in fitness, because you practice soccer all the time. No one wants to let the team down. You come to practice. You hang out with your soccer players after practice. And so anyone can Google how to lose weight.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people can get into your mind, body, heart, and soul and get you to actually do the execution consistently enough to lose weight. To your point, it's easy to say, track your calories, eat in a deficit, track your weight, and make sure you exercise daily. Anyone can say that.
Yeah.
But doing it is 1,000 times harder than saying it, if not 100,000 times.
Well, I think it's just one of those things where I think some people are really good at being consistent. Just whatever it is that they're doing, they're really good at being consistent with it. And I think you and I are good examples of that. Not to toot our own horns, but to toot our own horns a little bit. You've gone to the gym every day. I definitely haven't. But I was always somebody who, I was super consistent with exercise. I was super consistent with a lot of the things I did. I was very consistent in a lot of ways. Not always the best ways. Not always in positive ways. I did a post about that. Like, momentum goes both ways. It goes uphill and downhill. Uphill of, okay, we're getting closer to our goals. We're building momentum. Things might seem like they're getting a little bit easier. Every input gives me a little bit more than it used to, but it's also the opposite, where negative behaviors create momentum probably faster than positive ones, unfortunately.
Definitely. Yeah, they gain momentum way faster.
Because you're not fighting gravity in a way. It's like...
Yeah, it's like swimming downstream versus swimming upstream.
I don't know if I've ever swammy. I don't know if I've ever swammy downstream before. You do a lot of river swimming in Uxbridge, Massachusetts?
No, but I have. I have a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brief. I was camping
please. Yeah.
back in college.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I learned about ebbs and flows in rivers. So rivers have ebbs and flows. we were drinking, and I was swimming up a storm. And I've grew up on a lake. I'm a strong swimmer. I love swimming. I love the water. Don't like snapping turtles.
Except for snapping turtles.
Except for snapping turtles. And I was swimming with a friend of mine, a college roommate of mine, and I was racing him, as we would do with our drunk antics. And I said, ebbs and flows, call me Flow Rider, or something like that while I was swimming. And it was just, he laughed so hard that I won the race because I said it better than that. But
saboteur.
Yeah, that's just a useless story that I wanted to share.
I don't swim very well because I sink like a rock.
That's fair. I swam with you once at 3 a.m.
I almost died. There was weeds. Yeah, there was weeds in there. They got me. I was scared. I had a moment of panic.
I had no idea that you were scared.
Well, that's good. Yeah, if I was going to go down, I was going to go down without anybody knowing it. You know what I mean? Now, yeah, that was
that's smart.
I was going to say, that was ego.
Kevin?
That was ego. Now I would say, hey, Hasselhoff, I need you. Get in. I need you. Throw me the ring or something.
Yeah.
Throw me the ring. But back to our original point, when I was explaining it to this person, I said that's why it's so hard, because you don't know how you're going to react to something that you've never experienced until you've experienced something similar to it. And then it almost becomes a card in the deck that you understand. It's like, oh yeah, we've been through this before. Yeah. No, I remember 2 years ago this happened, and this is what we did to combat it, and now that doesn't happen anymore. And it just becomes a list of experiences where you know when you get a result, hopefully, you know the cause of it, and then you know what to do with the cause to change the results, and then eventually that doesn't happen anymore, and then eventually you forget that it happened, and then it happens again. And it's just this cycle of rinse and repeat forever. But the only way to ever get to the place where you understand it is to go through it. And I think that's why, I don't know, that's why podcasts are so weird, because anybody can start a podcast now. And you can just hop on here and you could just recite quotes from somebody else. I want to say this because you and I had a really good conversation about this. One of the reasons we stopped having guests, not because we didn't love guests. I've thoroughly enjoyed having guests. I miss having guests. I might have guests on my other podcast Growth U, at some point.
You got to do it, man.
I have the pull. I have the feeling.
And the reason why, too, is because you won't have this same issue.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yes.
What is thy issue?
Thy issue is when you have somebody on your podcast, let's say you have an hour spot, right? So you want to interview somebody for an hour. You run out of their area of expertise pretty quickly.
Especially if you're holistic and you want to...
Yeah, there's only
we were
so
unconsciously
much
trying to learn health, wealth, and love.
from
And
the
in
same
hindsight,
person
that was
every
really-
time.
Yeah, that was not smart in hindsight.
That's not everybody's jam. So here's the thing. I'm not saying the guests were wrong for that. I think we got ahead of it and we stopped having guests when we realized, I think we're entering kind of a dangerous territory here. But so you'd have a guest on for an hour, and 25 minutes in, you've already burned through this person's expertise. And then that person might unconsciously start talking about other things that they don't really know that much about, but since they know so much about the first point, you take everything that they say like facts. And
they also have the credibility of the pedestal.
100%.
Platform.
100%.
Platform. Yeah.
And it can be, and what you and I said is, I don't want to have the responsibility to have to know everything that they're going to talk about and make sure it's all sound. And a lot of what they're saying, I might not know the answer to. So I can't just assume they know. And it became a very heavy fear of mine that somebody was going to get on here and give terrible advice based on their experience or lack thereof. And being on other podcasts, I understand why that happens. Because when you get to the end of an hour and a half interview and we've already talked about so many self-improvement things, and somebody might ask me a question, at this point I say, that's just not something I speak on because I haven't studied it enough to intelligently speak on it. I can't add value to that. It's not something in my focus. But I understand in the beginning I probably didn't say that. I probably just made something up. Honestly, if somebody asked me about money, I might just make something up. I don't think I really ever did because my fear was always not knowing. So I tended to just try to be honest and just say, like, that's just not my area of expertise. I've said that a lot. But I understand why people might not say that.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. One other thing that makes this even bigger of a challenge is that a lot of people who, and when I go on other shows, you get asked these questions. I have a leadership show tomorrow. It's different than it used to be because now I'm leading every day.
Yeah.
I used to know leadership principles even when we had a smaller team. Even when I was just leading myself and maybe you. And vice versa. So here's the problem. A lot of people that you interview, you ask them questions and they don't actually know how they did it.
That's fair.
That happens all the time because they stumbled upon it. So, hey, so you built this this book that took off. Like, how did you do that? Oh, well, I made sure I got the right publisher. I made sure that the marketing was right, the title was right. Some people actually don't know. No. Well, you just got to put yourself out there, give 110%. It's you really don't really know. And a lot of times people were just following their intuition. Some people just got flat out lucky. That's an absolute certainty. Definitely. They just got flat out lucky. Other people have unconscious competencies aka skills, charisma, personality that is unconscious, that they just, it's like a freak athlete that just wins at everything but doesn't really know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, how did you do that? I've been dunking the basketball since I was 12, and I just kind of do this. I just dunk it. Why can't you do that? Versus, hey, I used to not be able to dunk because I was this tall, lanky, 6'2" guy who used to see these other people, these monsters dunk on the court, and it bothered me. So I actually worked on my vertical. And so I started wearing a weighted bag, and I started going to the gym. I started doing calves and squats, and heavy squats really is what did it. And then I could dunk. I actually know how to do it because I didn't just do it.
Yeah.
And this is actually something that I've come to realize recently when it comes to numbers. With my clients, I'm reverse engineering finish lines all the time. And Emilia mentioned this at Next Level Live. If you were there, you'll know what I'm referring to. The tail end, so it was 3/3, each was an hour. And the last part of the last third was reverse engineering a finish line. So take your big dreams, break them down into 2024 goals, take those goals, break them down into quarterly milestones, and then break those milestones into inch pebbles. For me, that was not anything I ever learned. No one ever taught me how to do that. I've just always been able to. Earlier, I was on a coaching session with a client, and I was showing him, that video with all the dominoes that we used to use all the time? Okay, so he started a YouTube channel. Shout out to him. Awesome. He's 11 videos in, already has almost 100 subscribers, just crushing it. Shout out to you.
Strong work.
Yeah, strong work. And some of his videos have 8,000 views. Is awesome. So keep it up. But I showed him the domino video, and it's just this video, and right on Zoom, I draw a graph because the dominoes that are knocking over look like an exponential growth curve. And I was talking to him, and I was showing him, okay, because I said, are you playing the long game? He said, yeah. I said, okay. He said, yeah, but I want to accelerate it. Like, isn't there a way to do it quicker than that? Because I was like, okay, 10 years, you're going to be this domino, right? And he's sitting there going, I want to be quicker than that. So I said, okay, of course you do. But anyways, so I said, yeah, but the difference between this curve and this curve is the area under the curve. And I said, I stopped myself right in the middle of all this. I said, brother, did you take calculus? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, I was just going to calculus all over this guy. I don't know what it's like at all to live in a world where I don't understand calculus. You don't know at all what it's like to not be able to tell when someone's emotionally off. Being funny. You just have been doing it since you were what, 8?
I don't even remember when I was 8.
So if I were to interview you on, hey Kev, how do you be funny? You always say the same shit. And sorry. But
a little frustrated?
It's just
a little
timing.
deep-seated frustration under there?
We did the last episode on contempt. That's what that is. But you always say the same thing, which is it's all about timing, man. Thank you for no good information.
No, I could give you a lesson. Sometimes it's just not worth it. Just like you could give a lesson on calculus, it depends on. It's like you don't care. You're not going to do what I say. It's not worth your time.
I would ask if I really wanted to know, so that's fair. I would have dug if I really wanted to, which apparently I do actually want to know, unconsciously. No, I was being playful with that. That's why I was purposely like that. Yeah. Because you say the same thing every time. It's all timing. It's just about timing.
I think it's one of those things, to your point. If you said, well, okay, what else? Like, what are the top 5 things? Then you'd have to dig. Oh, man, timing's one. Knowing the audience is another. Momentum is finding... And again, I'm not a stand-up comedian, so please do not take this as, like, facts. This is what works for me. I make people laugh.
Is there anyone you know who makes people laugh more than you?
That's a tough question. No. I would say no.
Yeah. Same.
I'm more of the like on the team, I'm definitely the comedian. I'm the comedian of the team for sure.
Hard for you to own that. You don't want to sound cocky? Is that fair?
It's that, but I also know it's one of those things where it's like I'm also on the team, I'm the martial artist, but in the grand scheme of martial artists, I'm nothing.
Right.
It's the duality of, I might be funny, but I'm not a stand-up comedian. And I know.
That's why it's so hard to know what you don't know and to know what you do know.
Definitely. But the only way to Go ahead. You can finish. Talk more about
the fact that you're humble about your comedy. Okay. When you and I were super into fitness, we were in really, really, really good shape, especially looking back now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, we didn't think that.
We didn't have anything else to compare it to. You only had the
for
past.
the people way ahead of us.
Or
I
the
was
past.
comparing to
Past you.
Fair. But when you get really deep into any expertise, the more I've studied communication, the more I realize I suck at communication.
Mm.
It's this weird duality where I thought I was a strong communicator if you talked to me 9 years ago. I was, statistically speaking, on the higher end, but now I don't think I'm that strong of a communicator. It's this weird thing because I'm comparing to Steve Jobs. I'm comparing to Barack Obama. I'm comparing to the greatest that ever lived. And I know how many nuances there are now, just like you with martial arts. In the beginning of a journey, you think you're pretty good because in this small pond you are, but when you compare to the best in the world, you would get destroyed.
Mm.
And so, and this is this weird thing because beginners think they know stuff.
See, I never did.
Oh,
I
a
never
lot of
did.
people fall for that.
Yeah, I never. When I started martial arts, I knew I was going to get smashed. It's because it's almost like when it comes to right now for me, and this is why I'm not hesitant to speak on certain things, but I try to just be honest. When it comes to rapping, when it comes to martial arts, and when it comes to comedy, in my circle, I might be good. But my circle does not have any comedians. It doesn't have any martial artists, and it doesn't have any rappers in it. So of course I'm gonna be on the higher end. But when I go into those rooms, I have to understand that, Kev, just because you're good where you come from does not mean you're good where you're going. Those are two drastically different understandings.
That's a fire quote.
Put it in the book.
That's a real good quote.
But that
because you're good where you come from doesn't mean you're good where you're going.
100%. 100%.
That's real good.
That's always the duality of, yeah, and you know what? You only know what it's like for me to be funny around you. I might not be as funny when I'm not around you to other people. It depends. I know you so well. But I understand why it can be really challenging for people. Because, like, imagine if you said, Kev, you should be a comedian. Like, screw this podcast thing. Like, say we were in the beginning. Like, you should really be a comedian. It's like, yeah, maybe to you I'm funny, but maybe you're weird as hell. I don't know. Maybe you just think I'm funny and nobody else does. But that ties in nicely, and this will be my next level nugget. That's why you have to try. Because when you try, you get lessons that you can't learn through imagination. There are certain things you can imagine, but you can't imagine the result of that. That's the hard part. You can imagine what it's like to go do something, but you can't imagine the feelings after you do it until you do it. Not accurately. Not completely accurately. That would be my next level nugget.
I was on with a team member earlier.
Just FYI time, you have like a couple minutes before you have to bounce. That's why I wrapped up. Yeah.
The first part of it was, I don't know if it'll be worth it. And I won't provide any context because I just want to... What's the context? It's too much context. She just stopped her long career, and she's starting a new one. She doesn't know what's going to be worth it. She doesn't know what's going to pan out at this stage. Okay, fair. That's enough context. Okay, the first step was, will it be worth it? Question mark. Then that brings you to what? Uncertainty.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Right.
And that brings you to what? Well, I'm not sure if I should really try then. Which then brings you to what? I don't know if it'll be worth it. Which then brings you to more uncertainty. Which then brings you to, I'm not sure I should try. Which then brings you to, will it be worth it? You never find out if it's worth it because you never try. No. And here's what happens, Kev. Someone tries, and they don't get good results in the beginning because no one does. Not everybody starts a YouTube channel 2 weeks ago and has 100 subscribers and a video that has 8,000 views. Of course, you're going to keep going to my client. Shout out to you. Of course, you're going to keep going because you're winning.
Well, that's a 1% result.
I know.
That's the thing is like...
But no one knows that.
I know. But it's almost like strong congrats to that client. This is not a normal outcome, just so you know.
Definitely. And
you
by
went
the
to
way,
the casino.
It might not continue getting up.
You went to the casino and you won 5 times in a row. That doesn't happen to most people.
But the person
good
who won 5 times in a row comes home and tells everybody.
I know.
And then everybody tells everybody.
Yeah.
And then everyone has that weird expectation, and then they go and get stomped, and then they never try again. And so that's my next level nugget is, if the goal is to learn, you're going to stay consistent. Follow your curiosity. Learn. Grow. If the goal is to grow, you'll keep doing it. If the goal is to get a specific outcome, you're in trouble when you don't get it.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in yourself, you really need to focus on the facing the fear more than the getting the result.
Strong work. Next Level Nation, as of the dropping of this episode, we are nearing the end of... Wait, did we already... Is it Q2?
I have no idea. I think it's the 28th or something like that. Yeah, it's the 28th. So Q2 is in
A couple days?
3 days. 3 days.
If you haven't got your Next Level Dreamliner for Q2 and you're doing it, if that's how you're doing it in those 90-day segments, it is time. Grab it on Amazon. We'll have the link in the show notes. The paperback version ships, 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days.
Inside joke. The hardcover takes longer.
2 weeks, unfortunately.
So get the paperback one.
I have the hardcover. It is worth it, but yeah.
If you're in a hurry, get the
quicker.
paperback one.
Yeah.
So link will be in the show notes for that.
And the tagline is achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It is, we got, as a matter of fact, let me read this real quick. I know we got to jump. Super fast. Super fast. I have a spreadsheet now that has...
Just what we need, more spreadsheets.
More spreadsheets is
Huge
the way.
fan. I'm a huge fan of spreadsheets.
It's the way. Okay, here we go. I've been using the Dreamliner for the last 2 days. It's been a big help, especially at night when I have those lingering thoughts. I write them down at the end of my day until my busy mind is empty. 10 out of 10. Nice. Yeah, that was I got permission to share that, and that was someone's experience with the Dreamliner. The goal of the Dreamliner is let's not do 50 minutes a day. Let's not do an hour and a half a day. Kevin's showing it on YouTube.
Look at it move, too.
It's going to keep you on the rails. That's the point. It's going to keep you consistent, and it's going to keep you on the rails so that you have the certainty that you need to keep on building momentum.
Keep on keeping on. Tomorrow, for episode number 1650, Alan and I didn't discuss this, so maybe it'll change, but I don't think so. I think it'll be a good one. Sometimes you need to cross the line to find it. You've said that many times in the past. This was years and years ago. This was like hyper-conscious days. So I figured we could do an episode on that based on something that I am growing through. As you know, we always try to share what we're growing through behind the scenes. So tomorrow we will talk about that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep trying. Next Level Nation.